you carry a firearm and discharge your weapon in self-defense, you could face hundreds of thousands of dollars in legal fees and expenses. So carry the protection of CCW Safe, Self-Defense Legal Services membership. Upfront payment of all criminal and civil defense costs with no out-of-pocket for members. Unlimited defense budgets, unmatched legal expertise. Carry the same level of support police officers have. Carry CCW Safe, the highest caliber.
And we're back. I'm Chris Evans, the CEO of Survival Dispatch. Good to see y'all. I see the chats are already ranking up. A whole bunch of comments there, by the way. All right, so I want to give a very brief explanation to some newer viewers who've questioned 2-3 hour podcasts. If there's any breaking news, like a breaking news story, we give it quickly at the beginning of the video. Then we provide a 10 to 15 minute Cliff Notes view on the main topic, which is the title of the video and the thumbnail. Then the second chapter is other headline news items, 12, 15, 20 items. Chapter 3 is funny, zany, interesting stuff. So if you're tight on time and you just want to get the high level overview, you got to tune in for about 10, 15 minutes. Also, I've got quite a few emails from paying insiders, not necessarily upset, but questioning how many free sit reps we've been giving out to standard members that don't pay. So what I'm going to do from here forward, for the time being at least, is that the sit reps are only available to paying members starting tonight. And if you want to buy them without becoming a member, the lowest price we can set on Patreon is $3.99, and I would prefer to do it for 99 cents. So we've got a couple options we're looking at to make the sit rep available to people who don't want to sign up for a membership but can buy it for 99 cents. All right, with that said, we do have one breaking news story tonight that's pretty disappointing, but not surprising, all things considered, with the last fake/installed administration that we have. So the U.S. Army diverted over $151 million meant for soldiers' meals at 11 major bases, leaving troops struggling with inadequate food. Imagine having $460 a month taken out of your pay for meals, only to get served toast and lima beans. That's the reality for U.S. soldiers at 11 major bases, where the Army literally siphoned off over $151 million meant for their food in 2024. Fort Stewart, Georgia, 17 million collected, 2.1 million spent. So 87% was lost. Schofield Barracks in Hawaii, 14.5 million taken, 63% redirected to unknown. Of the 225 million deducted from soldiers' paychecks in 2024, only 74 million actually fed the troops. Junior enlisted soldiers earning just $30,000 a year are hit hardest, scraping by while the Army funnels their meal money into a mysterious black hole. So where did the money go? Nobody knows at this particular point in time. I have a feeling DOGE will probably get to the bottom of it. But as it is right now, it's another fraud that's been perpetuated upon Americans, and in this particular case, to our very brave men and women who are serving. So not super enthusiastic to share that because it's very disappointing. But considering the way things went the past 4 years, not surprising. All right, so the main topic of the night are these activist judges slowing down and impeding Trump, also buying time for these rogue administrations, or rogue departments, I should say, to delete any evidence of their wrongdoing. And there's just mountains of wrongdoing. So I've got a video here from Carl Higbee at Newsmax. It's 8 minutes long. I'm not going to play the whole 8 minutes. If you're a paying member, go to the insider chat or go to Patreon, and you can download the brief. Has links to everything, and you can watch the whole video at your leisure. I'm just going to play maybe 2 minutes of this.
As you just heard, Trump talking about the uselessness of the federal government and how they're fighting at every turn they get.
and about the lawfare that the left is resorting to in this desperate attempt to stop him.
Right now, we're seeing a major test to the rule of law as federal judges continue blocking President Trump's plans to overhaul the government.
A federal judge is blocking the Trump administration from offering more buyouts to federal employees.
Another federal judge blocked Trump's executive order to ignore the Constitution and end birthright citizenship.
It's now not, because that too has been blocked by a federal judge. You know what else got blocked today? Another one.
Just insufferable. These people have massively overstepped. And on top of all the other orders, today, a federal judge decided what a government agency apparently can put on its own website, overriding Trump's order to take things down related to gender ideology.
Just to be clear, this report is from several days ago.
Over at HHS. Judge John Bates, and this decision really kind of made me look into this guy a little bit and who these judges actually are. You know what he was? He was on the FISA court. Remember that? That's that court that had over 300,000 abuses of our constitutional protection. He was a judge there. He was also the judge who ruled against Trump in his first term that kept DACA in place and even it opened up to new illegals. Funny enough, on February 7th, that's the judge, though, that declined to issue a restraining order against DOGE accessing the Treasury records. But if this doesn't show you how incestuous this whole system is, the Democrats just walked across the hall and shopped another judge. This one, appointed by Obama, Judge Paul A. Engelmeyer from the Southern District of New York. That's the guy who blocked the DOGE from accessing the Treasury Department records. He's given well over $20,000 to Democrats, from Obama, the DNC, Biden, Chuck Schumer, John Kerry, even going all the way back to Clinton. The man Clinton, not the wife Clinton. Also, turns out his wife, Emily, appears to have been on the advisory board of Apollo Shop, which is, this is not a joke, folks, funds people making art in the mountains since 1969. And guess how they got funded? USAID. She's also involved in a number of other groups, one of which was a program specialist, whatever that means, at New York Association for New Americans. What do they?
So I wish we had more time to play entire videos like that. But one of the judges, and I'm going to bring up a list of them here shortly, contributed $700,000 to the Democrats and essentially bought himself a lifetime appointment as a judge. He's based out of Rhode Island. The corruption is pretty crazy. So here's some of the high level points on this. So we've got legal challenges across the board. We now have numerous federal district judges temporarily blocking major aspects of Trump's agenda. These include policies on birthright citizenships. We've got 4 judges blocking that. Federal funding freezes, establishment of the Department of Government Efficiency, which is led by Elon. Judges from various jurisdictions, including Washington, D.C., Rhode Island, and Seattle, have issued rulings that prevent these policies from taking effect while legal challenges are thoroughly considered. None of these orders quote any laws that are broken. Like, not a single one of these judges has quoted any laws that are being broken. So that is pretty important, number one, because they're just issuing an opinion as opposed to saying, well, you broke this law, you broke this aspect of the Constitution, and you can't do this without specificity. So there's certainly going to be some changes happening to this process. Next part falls under judicial pushback. So judges have not only blocked policies, but have also criticized the administration's approach to executive power. For example, U.S. District Judge John Koffner in Seattle labeled Trump's actions as an attempt to circumvent the rule of law. That's the guy who said that the federal government cannot stop spending money on gender transitions for kids under the age of 18. Similarly, Judge John McConnell Jr. in Rhode Island, he's the guy who gave the Democrats $700,000, accused the administration of defying court orders related to a federal funding freeze. However, once again, not one of these judges have cited a single law that's been broke by the Trump administration. So lots of discussion around the Supreme Court's role, and I'm going to dive into that a little bit further as soon as I get through these bullet points. But at the high level, there's an anticipation that many of these cases will eventually reach SCOTUS, of course, And that's where Trump has an advantage because he has a number of the judges on the Supreme Court. He appointed them, and more additional ones are in agreement with him. So that's really the administration's legal strategy, is hinging right now entirely on the support from SCOTUS to reverse lower court rulings. But there are other options available. And again, I'm going to get into them in just a second. So the problem is temporary injunctions from lower courts slow down the implementation of the policies, contribute to a perception of judicial resistance. And it's worth noting that Obama's two legitimate administrations, and his third one as well, ignored lower court rulings. They ignored Supreme Court rulings, and the DOJ didn't enforce any of those, let's call them indiscretions. So if the DOJ is not going to enforce something, the court is basically a paper tiger. So with regards to the public and political reaction, Trump and his allies, J.D. Vance, Elon Musk, etc., have publicly criticized these judicial interventions, describing them as judicial activism, and even suggesting that judges are causing a constitutional crisis by overstepping their bounds. And they are absolutely overstepping their bounds. And I'll get into all the details shortly. I'm just trying to cover this high-level overview of the overall situation. So there's talk amongst Trump supporters of legislative or political responses to these judges' actions, including discussions on impeaching judges they perceive as obstructionists. However, impeachments require a 2/3 vote in the Senate, and we all know that's not going to happen. But there are some additional provisions, and I've only got 2 more bullets to cover here, and then we'll get into that part of the broadcast here. So from the perspective of legal precedents and concerns, that these legal battles are not just about policy implementation, but also broader questions of executive versus judicial power. Multiple legal experts have expressed concerns over a potential constitutional crisis if the administration were to ignore court orders outright, although no such defiance has occurred at the Supreme Court level yet. Only SCOTUS is a co-equal branch of government, by the way, and I'll just cover one more point, and then I'm going to give you some of the particulars. So current status, several of Trump's executive orders are on hold right now still. A couple have been allowed to proceed. But there's additional action being taken on those. So I wouldn't be surprised to see them halted once again. And, whether it's Trump's side or not, both sides are arguing pretty intensely. The good news is that Trump is on the right side of this. The Democrats are not on the right side of this. They're telling blatant lies. They're suggesting that money is being held up for, altruistic programs. That is just not the case. The fact of the matter is that they got caught with their hand in the cookie jar in this massive slush fund, and it's been going into their pockets as kickbacks. I would not want to be in Nancy Pelosi, Chuck Schumer, Mitch McConnell's, shoes, AOC as well. Every last one of them on a annual salary, $200K plus or minus, is worth tens of millions of dollars. In Nancy's case, hundreds of millions of dollars. And there's no way that they accrued that type of wealth without taking kickbacks. It's all going to be uncovered. And some of it is already being uncovered. I don't trust Zelensky at all. I don't really give a shit about Ukraine, to be quite frank. That's just my personal opinion. But Trump said we sent $200 billion to Ukraine. I think it's probably higher than that. And when Zelensky was asked about it, Zelensky said, well, we only got $100 billion. I don't know where the other $100 billion is. That may be the only truthful thing that man has ever said, because there's a good chance that $100 billion, found its way back to various people's pockets who are gaming the system. So at the end of the day, we've got some pretty significant tension between different branches of the government, and the courts are, for the time being, posing some significant barriers to Trump's executive actions. So the outcome of these battles is going to define the balance of power in significant ways, potentially influencing not just current policy, but also setting precedents for future administrations. So I've got 4 points here that I want to make, and that'll kind of be the opening of the video, set the tone for the balance of it. So number one, there will be no impeachments of federal judges. Don't suggest that they're going to happen. Don't hold your breath waiting for them to happen. The lower courts are 100% a construct of Congress. You have to have a 2/3 vote in the Senate to impeach a judge. Not going to happen. It just absolutely is not going to happen. There's no way that you would find that much agreement between the two sides with such a deep chasm between. So we can forget about impeachments. Next one is that somebody made a comment, I don't remember if it was last night or the night before, that the Supreme Court can only weigh in when something's already been decided upon by a lower court. That is not the case. There are multiple different types of circumstances where either a plaintiff or a defendant or a lower court themselves can go to SCOTUS and ask for guidance. And it happens more frequently than people know. So this concept that you have to drive everything through this myriad of judges before you can get SCOTUS involved is just not true. There are also emergency situations, by the way, where an emergency injunction can be requested by SCOTUS. Number three, so this is the exact wording in the Constitution, well, at least one particular word, and that is the lower courts are inferior to SCOTUS. So they're inferior to SCOTUS. They're a construct of Congress. They are not a co-equal branch of government. These federal judges think that they're on the same level as Congress, the executive, and SCOTUS, and they absolutely are not. And they've gotten too big for their britches, and that is just not the case. And somebody in the Signal chat sent a very detailed org chart showing where everything falls. And of course, all of this stuff either falls below the executive, all the departments do, for example. And then you've got these lower courts that fall below Congress, purview of Congress. So with all that being said, there's some stuff in the Yale Law Journal that I found. And what it does is it describes how there's several different ways that judges can be removed without impeaching them. And it involves leveraging parts 1, 2, and 3, articles 1, 2, and 3 of the Constitution. This stuff, when you get into all the legalese, is pretty complex. I asked Todd Callender for some clarification because obviously he's a very high caliber attorney. And he had some reservations over the Trump administration potentially using the stuff that's in articles 1, 2, and 3. And part of it would be, does it set a precedent for, almost like a dictatorship of sorts? I don't know that it does. I would defer to Todd on that sort of stuff, though. But what it would do, and the reason Trump has, every time he's been in office, first and second time, he has gone along with whatever the courts decide, because even though he has the right in some instances to say, yeah, we're not doing that, and you can't enforce it, and therefore we're just flat out not doing it, the loss of political capital would be pretty extreme, and he's very cognizant of that. The polls from the mainstream media are always manipulated. So, for example, if you see something like 58% of people support Donald Trump, it's probably 78% reality. I mean, sometimes we do get the real polls. And the reason I say that is years ago, I got in the habit of every time a poll was quoted, I'll go find the poll and scroll to the bottom, either look in the fine print or click a link that tells you how they gathered the information, and they always oversample. So oversampling means, okay, we asked 1,000 people, do they approve of President Trump's, holding up to his promises, for example, fulfilling his election promises. And it'll be 60, 65% registered Democrats, 25% registered Republicans, and the balance will be independents. And that's as consistent as it gets. So my friend Jason Wilson, who works in this field, his polls, I actually believe, and when we were going into the election November 5th, and the legacy media kept saying, oh, it's a horse race, it's neck and neck. Jason was telling me, he's like, it's not even close. He said, we've run a bunch of polls, and every single one of them, Trump is over 70%. And that was done in a much more accurate, methodical manner, where you've got, say, 45% registered Democrats, 45% registered Republicans, 10% independents. And before somebody, sends me a snotty email or puts something in the comments, I'm not a Republican. I don't like the Republicans. I despise the Republicans as much as I despise the Democrats. I've been saying for 30 years, they are two different sides of the same coin. So basically it's us and them, if you want to look at it in simplistic terms. So that's the high level overview. There are mechanisms available to us to get these judges out. Trump does have options. There is one specific component in one of the articles that Trump's team is burning the midnight oil on. I know that for a fact. And I don't want to say anything just based on the fact I don't want to give it away to the other side so that they can mount a defense against it until they're hit with it. So moving on into chapter 1 now. So the DC Circuit and other federal judges are being allowed to alter the Constitution by judicial fiat. And it's just getting started. So until the DOJ and or the Supreme Court steps up and stops this judicial tyranny, we no longer have a constitutional republic. That's a fact. I appreciate Mike Engelman in this case using the right wording. Most people would say, and Elon even said this, we no longer have a democracy. We never had a democracy. We're not a democracy. And there's a big difference. Democracy always ends in one group squashing everybody else. It's mob rules, 50+1. Democracy is a horrible concept. The Greeks, all the wise Greeks from way back in ancient Greece even said so. You can't have 50% plus one without ending up with one party that ends up getting shit on and disenfranchised. So constitutional republic, Democrat, not the same thing. I know some people are sick and tired of hearing some of us complain over that, but it's a legit complaint. So here's a post from Elon that he reposted. Obama himself stated he didn't need Congress to cut wasteful government spending. 28-second video.
One of the commitments that I made to the American people was that we would do a better job here in Washington in rooting out wasteful spending. We don't need to wait for Congress in order to do something about wasteful spending that's out there. Cutting waste, making government more efficient is something that leaders in both parties have worked on. We haven't seen as much action out of Congress as we'd like, and that's why we launched on our own initiative.
And he accomplished buckus, absolutely nothing, because he didn't intend on cutting anything. I mean, he's a hardcore socialist who believes the more money you spend and make people rely on government, the better. So moving on to Tony Saruga, you'll notice I quote him frequently. This guy, super high caliber, very high up in the scientific data world. His stuff is his thinking processes are amongst the best when it comes to stuff. So wait until they realize President Trump has the absolute power to arrest corrupt activist judges. The president is the chief magistrate of the United States. So this was the first I'd ever heard this. And I consider myself pretty well schooled when it comes to our system, constitution, and politics. So I went looking for information on this. And sure enough, Tony is correct. But no president has professed to be the chief magistrate of the United States for a very, very long time. We're talking back into the 1800s. And it just hasn't been used. So it's another lever that's certainly at Trump's disposal But again, like everything else in life, first thing you do is decide what you want. Second thing you do is decide what you're willing to give up to get it. So I feel that if Trump leverages that, and he may have to at some point, that he will sacrifice quite a bit of political goodwill. And Trump's too smart of a chess player to do that this early in the game. He's very patient as well. So we shall see. But that was an interesting piece of information I found while I was doing my research on this. Next one up. Another federal judge has intervened to block President Trump from using his Article 2 powers. This time, Judge Carl J. Nichols has ruled that Trump cannot bring overseas Foreign Service officers back to the U.S. He was also the judge in the Steve Bannon and Sidney Powell trials. So this is insanity. This is a judge who thinks that he can prevent the executive from moving resources around the chessboard. And that is just not the case. And maybe the judge knows that, and it's 100% a stalling tactic, but I think that a lot of these judges have drank way too much of the Kool-Aid, and they actually think that they are on par with the president of the United States. So we shall see what comes out of that. So this is one of many posts. There's more than two. But when this post was made, so far we have two judges blocking Trump with very clear conflicts of interest. So one of them here who blocked the right to freeze the USAID funding got 18 million from USAID funding, and he sits on the board for this. I mean, you can't make this stuff up at all. When you start seeing numbers like this, 0, 0, 0, 0, oh, look at that. You got $129,000 there. Imagine that. You know, it's they're so dirty. And here's in Rhode Island, this is that Lawrence character, $18 million in taxpayer funds, 18 million. So he gave the Democrat 700,000 for a lifetime appointment. Then he sits on the board for this particular organization that's collecting many, many millions of dollars through USAID. I mean, they are all as crooked as a dog's hind leg. It's unbelievable. So I brought this one up because she ended up getting a promotion, right? And the crazy thing is, she couldn't describe what a woman is. I can't believe that this person is on our Supreme Court and refused to answer what a woman is. I mean, this whole judicial, let's say, makeup, not the whole, but a good portion of it, is really out of line with the American people, what we voted for, what we want to see happen. They're only interested in protecting, you know, their cabal of people who've been milking the system. I think you're going to see within, let's say, the next 3 months, 3 months is my guess, you're going to see DOGE find $2 trillion a year. And that just so happens to equal what our deficit is each year. So, you know, the federal government takes in around $5 trillion a year and spends around $7 trillion a year. So it's not that hard to imagine that not only do we take in the $5 trillion a year, but we reduce the spending to $4 trillion, maybe $3 trillion, and we start reversing the debt that's owing. And it's the people who are in the circles of Ketanji Brown here, Obama, Brennan, all these other crooked judges, actors getting paid, you know, $10 million to go do a photo session with Zelensky. I mean, the theft is unreal. So here's an interesting curveball, by the way, on these judges. So how did Amir Hayton Mahdi Ali, a left-wing Muslim Canadian-American lawyer, become a United States District Judge of the United States District Court for the District of Columbia? This is absurd. He flat out stated he will block any and all of President Trump's agenda. This is not how courts work. This is not how judges work. They rule on what somebody's done based on the Constitution or any laws that have been passed by Congress. You can't make a statement like this guy did and actually fulfill your obligation as a judge. But this is how weaponized things have become. And thank God Trump is a great chess player, and he's also very patient, as I mentioned. So here you go. This guy, this is again the judge from Rhode Island who paid the $700,000 to get his lifetime appointment, sits on the board of that other nonprofit that collects $18 million a year in USAID funding. Clearly no bias here. Judge who blocked Trump's spending freeze calls him a tyrant, decries racism as a white people problem, and advocates packing his court with people of color because it's too white. And that's from 2021 footage. I don't think that a lot of these people realize that the internet's forever. If you put it out there, it doesn't matter if you delete it from the original source, it's still out there. At the very least, the Wayback Machine will have a copy of it. All right, so moving on to the next one. So here's a little bit more information on the same judge from Rhode Island. And have a look here at some campaign contributions. Democratic Congressional Campaign Committee, 28,500. 28,500, 25,000, 25,000, 25,000, 22,000. When you pull all of these up, it tallies up to $700,000 before he got his lifetime appointment. I can't remember if I have a slide in here or not. I probably do. I just can't remember. On the judge in Seattle who has said that the federal government has to continue funding sex change surgeries, operations, hormone treatments for youngins under the age of 18. It makes one wonder, why do they keep messing with these kids the way they're doing it? It doesn't matter where you fall on the spectrum. So if you're not religious, you could say it's twisted. If you are religious, you can definitely say it's demonic and downright evil. But up until 2018, World Health Organization listed transgenderism, body dysmorphia as a mental illness. They took it out because they decided to start promoting this baloney. It is a mental problem. We no longer have the facilities to treat these people who legitimately need, mental care. I showed y'all a picture last night and the night before of an insane asylum that had been shut down and mothballed years ago. I think it was 1952. We hit the peak number of inpatient psychiatric care beds, around 550,000. We now have 40,000. And so the decrease in care psychiatric beds has gone like this. Well, guess what opposes it and has gone like this? Inmates incarcerated in federal penal institutions. So we've taken a bunch of sick people, not given them treating. And I'm not suggesting this is all transgender people, but we've got these mentally ill people. We took away the services for them. We privatized a good chunk of our penal system, and then we threw them in prison. And that's how we're handling it. We account for something like 3% of the world's population, and we by far and away have more people incarcerated than any other country in the entire world. So follow the money. All right, next one up, a little bit from AJ here. Federal judge blocks Trump's ban on $50 million of taxpayer money going to Gaza to buy condoms. And nobody believes that this is condoms. There was another one for $100 million to the Middle East in condoms. They're running out of ways over the years to try and cheat the system and come up with an excuse of why they're going to send this $50 million over there, when in reality, they're greasing a couple of people on that end, but it does the boomerang effect and comes back this way and lands in a Congress critter's bank account. It's a 2-minute video. I'll probably play the whole thing. He's got some good information in this.
Trust me, you're not going to believe this, but if you search engine it, you can find it from like 10 years ago. Millions of dollars allocated by the federal government to put shrimp on treadmills. Well, now we have something even crazier. And that's 50 million of U.S. taxpayer money through the foundations, where the U.S. government gives them to these leftist foundations. They distribute it for brainwashing kids into trans agenda, promoting bringing radical Islamics to the United States. I mean, it's just helping human smuggling, Catholic charities, all of it. $50 million to Gaza for condom distribution. That's right. And they had a federal judge, it'll get overturned, but blocked Trump today, blocking the $3 trillion slush fund the Democrats have set up to pay all the different NGOs to fund the Antifa and the Black Lives Matter and the illegal aliens waving Mexican flags, beating up people in Dallas and stealing their American flags. All this anti-human, anti-American, take a knee at the NFL, that's all ESG scores, BlackRock funded. All of it is financed with your taxpayer money to bring down this country. $50 million for nothing but Magnum condoms. That's a side issue, but the Hamas people have been caught using them with helium to plant bombs on them and send them up. I mean, that's a fact. But I mean, how many Magnum condoms do you get for $50 million? So they'll take an old lady's house if she hadn't paid her taxes for a year. And the IRS hired 87,000 people under Biden to harass low-level blue-collar workers, and they're pissed that Trump's pushing no tax on tips. But we got $50 million for condoms, folks. That doesn't even sound real, but everybody knows that. It's all over the news right now, just like shrimp on treadmills was many years ago.
So he's not kidding. It's easy to find. Go to yandex.com, yandex.com. It's one of the only search engines out there that won't turn your brain to shit with woke progressive narratives. If you go to your search engine and you ask it if men can get pregnant, it says, yes, you're using the wrong search engine, and it's pushing nothing but the progressive globalist narrative. So yandex.com, by far and away the best, yandex.com. Literally took 2 seconds to pull this up. Shrimp treadmill study paid for with taxpayers' money. And scrolling down the page, one of the payments was $559,000. And there are additional payments. I've looked at this before. I can't tell you what the total is. I want to say it was maybe like $9 million. Don't quote me on that. But $9 million, even $500,000 of our money studying shrimp on a treadmill. Bullshit. It's not real. It's all just funneling money back into crooked people's pockets. So this judge here just blocked Trump's freeze on grants and aid money. And I like the way that this is stated in that, and this is, by the way, a couple weeks old. They are violating the will of the people. That puts a really fine point on it. We did not vote for continuing corruption and fraud. We voted to put an end to that, the rape of Americans, especially the American taxpayer. And that's why I say that these judges are just so far out of touch. So I got another one from AJ here. Federal judge fraudulently blocks Trump administration freeze on billions of globalist NGO funds being used to destabilize America. So this one's a couple weeks old as well. But the reason I put it in here is because this is particularly offensive. This is where they're taking our tax dollars, funneling them through USAID. Then USAID gives the money to an NGO who's actively engaged in tearing America down. And this is a 10-minute video. I'm not going to play the whole 10 minutes, but I will play enough that you get the gist of it. Again, if you're a paying member, go to the Signal chat, although you might not find it in there because I noticed there's just a crazy amount of messages going through. Go to Patreon. You can download it there. If you're not a paying member, you can buy it for $3.99. Again, I'm going to get that to 99 cents. I have some ideas on how I'm going to do that. But let's have a second here of AJ's explanation.
President Trump has carried out in 8 days more than 500 executive actions and policy changes that has derailed the globalists, not just here, but around the world. They are in free fall. He's purging all the globalist deep staters out of the Justice Department and federal agencies, secured the border, gotten $1 trillion of investment already back in the U.S. in just 8 days. So many things. But We knew federal judges were going to try to block a lot of it. And that's exactly what happened this afternoon. Yesterday, Trump blocked $3 trillion that Biden had hidden away for all their different leftist NGOs, open borders, human smuggling, Islamic centers, drag queen story time, all of it. And Trump can constitutionally impound that money when it's still unspent in his new administration. But this federal judge came out and blocked all of it, ladies and gentlemen, blocked every single bit of it. But that's just going to be a speed bump. And I guarantee you it's going to be overturned by higher courts. But that said, this is an example of how we are still in a major war. We've won battles, but not the war. And there's a bigger factor here, total scaremongering and fearmongering. When I was watching the press conference today with the new press secretary on her maiden voyage, she did an excellent job. And when she went to the new media, they asked serious questions, not even softballs about the Chinese new AI, DeepSeek, and other things like that. But when they went to the corporate media, they just kept saying over and over again, this is going to cut Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid. Why Trump, people aren't going to get their Medicare and Medicaid checks. Why people aren't going to get their bills paid that are on welfare. And she explained over and over and over and over again that this was grant money to NGOs.
And so that's actually another good example of the hyperbole that the, Mockingbird media, legacy media, and the Democrats and rhinos have been parroting, that this is hurting legitimate causes. This is money that were grants given to NGOs for nefarious purposes that were resulting in kickbacks coming back to the politicians. It's brutal. So actually, here's the judge that I mentioned from Seattle who blocked the Trump admin from defunding trans mutilation of children and teens. I like how Kent here says honorable, question mark. This bag of shit, SCHITT, needs to be removed from any contact with anything remotely connected with the law. And I second that motion as well. So moving on to the next one here. As I mentioned, we now have 4 federal judges blocking Trump's order to end birthright citizenship. Somebody, I don't know, not too long ago said that no other country in the world grants you birthright citizenship except for us. I have not had a chance to research that. If any of you in the audience have had a chance to research that, let me know in the chat if that is indeed the case. And if not, are there other countries, maybe put their name out there, that do offer birthright citizenship? All right, next one up, another cock-blocking judge here. Judge blocks Trump admin from mass firings, restrains acting CFPB director Vout from doing job. So the executive, the president, has 100% say over staffing levels at the departments. It does not fall into any other branch of government. This is a speed bump at best, but these delaying tactics are very frustrating for people. And I mean, it slows down what can happen over the course of this second term of Donald Trump's, which means it's not good. All right. And the next one, a federal judge, well, this is good news, by the way. A federal judge has lifted the block on Trump administration's federal buyout program. So there's, I believe, 75,000 people took Trump's buyout offer. So what that means is that they no longer have to go to work, but they will get paid through until September. Plenty of time to find another job. 1 minute, 11-second video.
Good morning. Here are today's top stories. A federal judge has lifted the block on President Trump's federal buyout program. How much of the federal workforce the White House says it will cut?
President Trump signals that momentum for peace in Ukraine is building. More on his talks with Zelensky and Putin.
The Justice Department is suing the state of New York over its immigration policies. Among the defendants are Governor Kathy Hochul and State Attorney General Letitia James.
Communities are bracing for 3 storms expected to impact the U.S. this week, bringing both snow and heavy rainfall threatening California.
Fed Chair Jerome Powell testifying.
Air price gives his back on track.
Well, I think I may have put the wrong video in the brief. I apologize for that. Moving on to the next one here. No, the blocks do not become valid just because a district court judge says so. Right now, Trump is being patient. However, he doesn't have to be. If a district court judge issues a facially invalid order, Trump can call it out and tell the court system he's ignoring it. That'll cost him political capital, as I mentioned already. That doesn't make him wrong to do so. My take is that he needs to give an ultimatum to the Supreme Court that they're going to have to take up requests for writs of mandamus immediately during this time period of overt abuse by activist district judges, in essence daily, so that the executive branch is not unreasonably burdened by bad actors. Then tell the Supreme Court that if they refuse to handle it in a timely manner, he's going to proceed by ignoring these orders when he has good reason, and to say that they're facially invalid. These court orders are so extreme in their invalidity, it beggars the mind of any rational attorney. It's as bad as when James Comey came out and said that Hillary Clinton didn't have the intent requirement for a recklessness crime statute. Every lawyer who remembered first year in law school collectively said, what the F? I'm trying to save the cuss words for chapter 3. This is worse, actually, because this one has the potential to really F up the separation of powers and the gentleman's bargain that is our republic. So, as I mentioned, invalid is a key word. These are not one of these judges, not one, has specified what law is being broken or how the Constitution is being infringed upon. It's strictly an opinion. And we all know how that goes with these guys. All right, so Charlie Kirk here. The only video you need to send your liberal whoever when they complain about DOGE. And I put this one in at the end of chapter 1. This is the final one for chapter 1. Just because it's so intricately woven into the actions taken by these activist judges. 1 minute, 32 seconds.
So there's been a lot of talk about DOGE and what exactly are they cutting? Oh, let's go through some of where your taxpayer dollars are going. You might be a carpenter, a welder, a waitress, a hairdresser, and you're working your tail off to pay your taxes. Here's where your taxpayer money is going. $7.9 million to teach Sri Lankan journalists how to avoid binary gendered language. $20 million for a new Sesame Street show in Iraq. Not a joke. $20 million for a new Sesame Street show in Iraq. $4.5 million to combat disinformation in Kazakhstan. $2 million for sex changes in Guatemala. $2.1 million to help the BBC value diversity in Libya. $2.5 million to promote inclusion in Vietnam. $16.8 million for a separate inclusion group in Vietnam. $5 million to the EcoHealth Alliance, one of the key NGOs that funded research at the Wuhan Institute of Virology. $20 million for a group related to a key player in Russiagate. $1.1 million for an Armenian LGBT group. $1.3 million to Arab and Jewish photographers. $1.5 million to promote LGBT advocacy in Libya, and the list goes on. As you work your tail off to pay taxes, this is how your leaders have spent it. Elon Musk and Donald Trump are putting it to an end. That is what DOGE is all about, to return money to you. And we are cleaning up the waste that Joe Biden left.
And unfortunately, it predates Biden, that's for sure. So get a short message from one of our sponsors at Sawyer Products, and I will be right back.
The Sawyer Mini is the most versatile personal filtration system available. It's a perfect solution for backpacking, hiking, hunting, fishing, scouting, international travel, and emergency preparedness. At a mere 2 ounces, the Mini fits in the palm of your hand and can filter up to 100,000 gallons of water from any freshwater lake, river, or stream. The Sawyer Mini has a 0.1 micron absolute pore size. It was tested to 10 million parts of bacteria and 1 million parts of protozoa without a single breakthrough. This is the highest level filters can be tested to, so we're confident these are the highest rates of filtration available.
All right, to kick it off for chapter 2, post from this morning from Gunther Eagleman. 3.5 weeks, almost $100 billion. $100 billion on the DOGE clock. And like I say, my prediction is 3 months in, we're going to be somewhere in the range of 2 trillion, possibly more. Big, big numbers that we've been ripped off for. All right, next one up. Washington is going nuts right now. They're worried about massive arrests. I bet many may leave the country. There's some of the stuff going on in DC, like this massive deluge of homes that have come on the market all of a sudden. You've got people searching, like searches have spiked by many thousands of times for criminal defense attorneys, how to transfer money offshore, all kinds of crazy stuff. It's funny how it's a big enough problem that it actually spikes the searches on different search engines. So 1 minute, 41 seconds.
DOGE has them running for the doors. Have you seen this? Leaks tweets this out. Washington, D.C. searches soar for Swiss bank. That's in yellow. Offshore bank in green. Wire money in IBAN in blue. Look at this. Nada, and then bam. See the dates right here. Look at this. November 2024, December, nothing. Boom. Look at this search. Cayman Island tax haven. Look at this. All the way up. Do you see what's going on here, Washington? 3 times the amount of people in Washington, D.C. looking for criminal defense attorney. Look at this. It's all increasing. Offshore, Cayman Islands, criminal defense attorneys in Washington, D.C., these Google searches are soaring. And you're probably sitting at home going, but why? Why do you think that is? Why do you think that is? Take a look at this.
The problem is these people can't conspire right now because all their phones are tapped.
Absolutely. They've tapped all their phones. They're watching them. Who do you trust? Who can you talk to? Who can you really, really trust? Because
They're crazy. The power that they have to look into people's emails, look into people's phones, find out what text messages they're sending. They can look into your signal. All that's
Pegasus, baby.
Yeah, they look into everything. So
they absolutely have them. They've got them against the wall. They don't know who they can trust. They don't know who they can talk to. They don't know who's recording them.
this is going on. So they can't conspire. And then they also have to worry about people taking deals. So there's going to be some people that squeal. And so then you don't know who's your fucking enemy and who's your friend. And everywhere you talk.
You don't know who's your enemy and you don't know who's your friend. And we're here for it. And we're watching. And if you think you can destroy all these things and Elon's not going to find it, or big balls, or this team of DOGE, they're coming for you and they're going to get you. And all of us are sitting back here going, it's glorious. Exactly what we voted for. Who's with me?
That was good. I like his enthusiasm there for sure. All right, next up, Congressman Byron Donalds explains why the Democrats are so upset about DOGE. Isn't it because DOGE is taking away their tax-paying funded corruption ATM? 59 seconds.
The reason they're upset is because Elon Musk is now scrutinizing the very Leviathan, the very same bureaucratic state that has been unelected, that has been unaccountable, which has really been the secret sauce, the holy grail for the Democrat Party. This is where they've put all their pet projects. It's where they put all their special interest spending. It's where they put the resources behind their ideology that just doesn't get promoted in the United States, but gets promoted around the globe. And so they're upset because now the bureaucracy is being examined. They have no problems if you want to go talk about other nations, if you want to talk about these other issues that typically happen in politics. But when they get scrutinized, now you see what they truly care about. And that is the fourth estate, the fourth branch of government that is not in our Constitution, the bureaucracy. So they're going to do everything they can to protect it, but it's not going to matter.
So the rhinos and Democrats who've been raping us are literally rolling out one person after another to make these outlandish claims on how money for legitimate purposes is being held up by Elon and Donald Trump. And that is just not the case. What's being caught up is the money that's going to fraudulent causes and circling back, as he mentioned, like an ATM. So Border Patrol agents have now deployed drones sitting on the vehicle's hood to secure the border. So I'm not going to play this video because it's long. It starts out really slow, but suffice it to say, the guy with the microphone has been reporting on the border for years now, and he couldn't even remember the last time he saw our guys, CBP, using drones to monitor what's going on the border. So the numbers are staggering. I mean, you're talking, we went from many thousands of people crossing every day to a handful. And I think the one number I saw this week, the average since Trump got in, is just over 300 people a day coming across the border. which is again is way down from there were days when there were 20,000 people came across the border. When you add that up over a 4-year installation like Joe Biden, you're talking millions and millions of people, especially when you have the people that you don't even know about. It's the old adage, for every rat that you see, there's 1,000 more that you don't see. All right, next one up. This guy puts a very fine point on things. 54 seconds, well worth the watch.
Elon Musk does have a security clearance. He has a top secret security clearance. By God, he makes the rockets for NASA. But the suggestion that he somehow can't be trusted to dig into how we're spending our money is nothing but a smokescreen to hide the corruption and the wasteful spending that has occurred there. And I am personally offended at the left's continued references to 19-year-olds and 21-year-olds in there doing work. There are 19-year-olds who have won the Medal of Honor defending this country. Just because you're 19 doesn't mean you're some child who can't be trusted. It is offensive. And if you're 19 years old out there, 20 years old, and you're serving this country, by God, your service matters. Keep serving. We thank you for that.
Very well said. Very well said. All right. So moving along, we've got some new information on the Blackhawk crash that happened in D.C. The NTSB is claiming that the crew in the chopper did not hear instructions to pass behind the plane. There's also some information that came out that says the chopper was at 278 feet, but they were at 400 feet, and that there were mismatched readings even inside the cockpit of the helicopter. So this is still a developing story. I guess we'll hopefully know more on what happened, but still have no concrete answers on one of the worst air tragedies in our country. All right, so this one's rich. So the president of Mexico is threatening to launch more lawsuits against American gun makers if cartels become designated as terrorist groups. But in the same breath, she wants to say that the Mexican government is not hooked, tightly. They're not yoked to the cartels, which is such a lie. It's an unmitigated lie. And there's your proof right there. Otherwise, why would she be so upset? The cartels are downright evil. They have a tremendous negative effect on society. Wouldn't she be happy that we're designating them FTOs and taking care of the problem and saving her and her people and her government from having to do it? Well, that would be the case if she wasn't getting kickbacks. We know the Mexican government's been absolutely beyond crooked forever and a day, and that just proves it right there. All right, next one makes me smile. So Mitch McConnell, opposing MAGA, no longer holds power to bully Senate Republicans. He voted against all of Trump's nominations this week, and he was the only Republican who did so. He does not have the political capital anymore to force other people in the Republican Party to vote the way he tells them to. This guy's got to go, man. He's got to go. He's an invalid. He keeps having these TIA strokes. How on earth, he's been in for 40 years. How on earth he's still hanging on is beyond me. But maybe at some point in time, we'll end up having term limits imposed. That would be a great thing, but not so far, I guess. All right, next one up here. Vice President J.D. Vance encourages the EU and UK to end the censorship of their citizens' dissent. He implores them not to reject outcomes they don't like. So there was an election, they didn't like it. They said that third parties interfered vis-a-vis TikTok, and therefore the election didn't stand, and it was a populist government, and they completely overthrew it. It was completely out of line, completely against the will of the people, because it was a result they didn't like. So this is an 18-minute video. I'm not even going to play part of it because it just wouldn't do it any justice. But suffice it to say, J.D. Vance very politely says to the Europeans, you know, you don't have freedom of speech. And because you don't have freedom of speech, people are going to continue to rail against your policies and all these things that you're doing. And he basically encouraged them to restore freedom of speech. And they all sit there like this. You know, they are a bunch of technocrats, whatever you want to call them. And it was glorious. JD did a great job, and a great job representing us as well. All right. So Europe is now Sovietized, and this is further to JD Vance's speech. They are not represented by its citizens. JD Vance is correct. Without free speech, Europeans are not truly free. I mean, everybody knows it. The bad guys know it. The good guys know it. And they just don't care. I mean, these people are like megalomaniacs, especially Klaus Schwab. But if nothing else, it's good entertainment to watch the reactions on their faces. So here's another take on it. Vance enraged European elites, not only because he told them the truth straight to their faces, their fury was even greater because they couldn't do anything to him. They cannot sue him, delete his YouTube channel, close his social media pages, close his bank accounts, or call the police in at 6 a.m. in the morning. I mean, they have no control over Trump's cabinet, JD Vance, any of them. It was good to see them have to basically sit there and listen to what he had to say. All right, next up, uncovering billions lost to fraud and improper payments. The gravy train for a lot of these folks, it's being on biscuit wheels. It's a 5-minute video. I'll play about the first minute or so because it's actually pretty comical. He uses a lot of Southernese, which makes it comical.
Thank you, Chair Lady. The gravy train for a lot of these folks, it's been on biscuit wheels and it's about to run off the dadgum tracks, and it's about time. Could you imagine standing up here and defending waste, fraud, and abuse? But I think that's what we're seeing. When people squeal and don't ask questions, I think it shows the American public what the heck's going on. And that little gravy train is getting ready to run out. The spigot is getting ready to be turned off. Mr. Talcove, that's correct how you say your name, brother?
Yes, sir.
All right. How can the federal government improve identity verification for these entitlement programs?
Yeah, it's doing what the private sector does every single day, whether you use your bank, you go to Amazon, using those tools and moving away from some of the dated compliance standards that the federal government uses. NIST IAL 863, 2017, before there was anything called deepfakes and generative AI tools.
I was informed that PayPal has never been, they've never been able to crack into that and steal people's vital information. Are they using those systems that you would be favorable towards that government seems to be shying away from?
Yes, sir.
All right, moving on from there. Next one up from Lee Zeldin, which is Trump's head of the EPA. My team at EPA just identified an additional $600,000 in media subscriptions that I'm canceling to save more of your hard-earned dollars. So then earlier they discovered 458,000. So this is how the money has been funneled, right? So funneled. So Politico missed their payroll the week before last because of money frozen up by DOGE. And essentially for 600,000, you know, there might be, say, 10 people at the EPA who get these expensive subscriptions to the news at Politico, obviously very egregiously priced. And that's how the money laundering goes. Some of that ends up back in the, you know, politicians' pockets, but it's also used to what's called astroturfing. In other words, trying to make it look like it's a natural thing for these outlets to attack Trump, attack patriots, and make it appear as though it's got nothing to do with anybody who's in power. It's all a shell game at the end of the day. So moving on to the next one, and this is kind of similar. This is Viktor Orban from Hungary, their leader, and he basically describes how money from USAID was going into NGOs in Hungary, which then in turn was used to spread this messed up woke ideology, and they're doing it around the world. So good video, 1 minute, 4 seconds.
It's a massive problem in the United States. Yeah.
The second is that, it's a taxpayer money.
Yes.
So if we take it, this whole thing not as a political one, but rather as a moral issue, the fact is that the liberal elite of the West use the taxpayers' money of United States citizens to spread their ideology all around the world, and financed in Hungary more than 60 NGOs, paid politicians, media outlets. So it was a plot against our sovereignty and independence. Sorry, made by you.
I know.
Sorry, but this is the case, and the same has happened from the Brazilian budget, which is even more scandalous, may I say, because we pay the money in the Brazilian budget and they finance our enemies at home. So what's going on? So this is the liberal deep state, the global liberal deep state, and now we see how it has operated.
Yeah, I don't think anybody suspected that it was so perverse and so widespread, that's for sure. All right, just a friendly reminder that if Trump and HHS Secretary Kennedy ban pharmaceutical ads, it will completely destroy legacy media. So I hope they do it. So we've mentioned this before. I'll just briefly mention it again. In a non-presidential election year, big pharma accounts for 70 to 75% of ad revenue in legacy media organizations, and in a presidential election year accounts for about 50%. And it's not because they want you or me to say to our primary that we saw this particular medication on TV, could you prescribe it? I'm sure that happens, but the real reason behind it is because they account for so much revenue for legacy media outlets that they have the power to tell them, this is the narrative, this is the story, this is how you're going to spin this thing, report on this thing. And if you don't do it, we'll take our ad spend and we'll give it to somebody else. So I fully expect when pharmaceutical ads get banned in legacy media, we're going to see a massive culling of the herd, and it's long overdue. All right, next one up, we've got another study. They never seem to end on this particular topic. So new poll shows liberal women the most unhappy and lonely. Liberal women between ages of 18 and 40 are nearly 3 times as likely as conservative peers to report frequent feelings of loneliness. Liberal women are the least likely to report being fully satisfied with their lives and are far more likely to report feeling lonely often, according to a recently published poll. The 2024 American Family Survey found that 37% of conservative women and 28% of moderate women between the ages of 18 and 40 reported being completely satisfied with their lives, but just 12% of liberal women in the same age group said the same. So this one particular demographic of younger and middle-aged white liberal women, the Karens, essentially, these are mentally unstable, emotional wrecks, loaded up on SSRIs. I'm not sure exactly why that particular demographic is in such bad shape, but as we keep hearing one study after another lamenting the fact that these women are really messed up mentally and emotionally, I think to myself, God, it's got to suck to be a younger or a middle-aged guy and be single and trying to find a girl. It's hard enough to find one that shares the same interests that you share, but imagine that, maybe 1 out of every 2 that does share your interests turns out to be completely cuckoo. It's got to be tough for younger guys. I don't know how else to put it. So moving along kind of on the same theme here, but we'll move over to the side of people in the public eye. So the key reason why libtards live in a bubble of delusion is because they censored and blacklisted anyone who disagreed with them. The result, self-deluded morons like Ben Stiller. And so he was paid $4 million to fly over to the Ukraine, do a photo session with Zelensky. Angelina Jolie, 20 million. And then there was a bunch of them kind of in the middle. I'm not sure why he got less than everybody else. But at the end of the day, they live in their liberal echo chamber. If you want a good example of it, go have a look at the cesspool known as Reddit and how anything that is not woke progressive crap gets instantly banned and shut down. And they literally do nothing but confirm each other's bias. I mean, one thing I am particularly proud of the team at Survival Dispatch is that we consume news from far left to far right, everything in between. And then we go on the hunt to find out where did the money go? What are the competing interests? What's going on with these news outlets? So, for example, if MSNBC and CNN and Fox and all these people are basically Mockingbird, repeating the same thing over and over again, it's bullshit. So that's the number one indicator as a red flag that you should go look somewhere else to try and seek out the truth. So we're on episode 401. Twice we've had to retract stories. I'm going to retract half a story here, by the way. Up until recently, when you went to Yandex and got results for can a man get pregnant, there was none of this transgender bullshit on there. However, now there is some stuff on there. One of our viewers pointed out, and I appreciate that. So I can't use that as the litmus test anymore for a valid search engine. But what I can say is that I had a quick look at it, and there's definitely information on both sides of the story there, whereas on Google and DuckDuckGo and Bing, there's only one side to the story, and that's that men can have babies. So anyway, back on target here. It's 2 minutes and 17 seconds. I can't play the whole thing. We'll all end up, screaming for help, but I'll play a portion of it just so you can get a feel for how out of touch this guy is.
Yeah, I think we probably, I think everybody's going to have their own personal reaction, and it's impossible not to be aware of the fact that people feel this, that, oh, wow, there can be retribution from the government if you say something wrong. And that's really scary. So just to even be thinking that way is, but, of course, I'm aware of it. I think everybody's aware of it. And, certain people are just naturally more outspoken and always have been. And I've sort of had my own path with it. But right now, I think it's definitely a thing that people feel. And in a way, for me, it makes me think about it even more about, well, what do I really want to say and how do I really feel about something? And I think for artists in times like these, that their creative energy really goes into expressing, what they feel. And there's a lot of amazing work that can come out of times like these that I hope we see.
Yeah. I kind of feel like we're going to stop right there. So it gives you an idea of where their heads are at, these Hollywood people. The funny thing is that there was a study, I want to say, maybe a month ago, that said only 17% of Americans cared what celebrities had to say. I just saw another one this past week that said 11%. So the numbers continue to plummet. All right, so we pay $18 billion a year to the UN, which is 33% of their budget. So they can take that money and pay for the mass migration. It's unbelievable, right? So United Nations to hand out hundreds of millions in cash to U.S.-bound immigrants in 2023. So our friend Sheriff Mark Lamb, who, by the way, has resigned and is going into private industry, super smart guy. A year ago, last month, he announced that they were intercepting illegals that had prepaid debit cards with somewhere between $5,000 and $10,000 on them. And the mainstream media, legacy media, called him everything but a white man. He was lying. He made it up and stuff. And shortly after that, I want to say around the beginning of March, it became common knowledge that this was happening. And do you think any of them went back to Mark Lamb and apologized? I asked him about it. We just saw him again in Vegas, and absolutely not. None of them apologized for it. So that's why you'll see on Survival Dispatch News' stuff, you'll see a tagline that says, the truth is a footnote, find it here. And the line of thinking behind that is Christopher Wray. This is just one of a gazillion examples, but it's really easy. Christopher Wray on a Wednesday goes in front of Congress, says that Donald Trump was not shot. So the head of the FBI says Donald Trump was not shot. He got hit with some debris from a teleprompter, and that's what made his ear bleed. 2 days later, on the Friday evening, the FBI quietly put out a one-page letter that said Christopher Wray was wrong. He spoke out of turn, and Donald Trump was absolutely shot with a .223 5.56, and it got no coverage. But the Democrats, they got, well, and the rhinos too, but the anti-Trumpers, let's say, got the headline that they wanted. Donald Trump was not shot. So they parroted it all over the place. So the lemmings that follow the legacy media parroted it as well all over the place. And it's a footnote. It's like you could have a bold lie on the front page of the Wall Street Journal. Happens frequently, by the way. And, you know, a week later in the classified section at the very back, there'll be a little retraction this big. We hereby retract the story that we published on such and such a day. Nobody ever sees it. It's a footnote. And that's where we came up with that. All right. Next one up. This shows a map of homes for sale in the DC area. I've been watching this actually explode over the past week. This one's not even the worst. Some of them, there's so many homes displayed like this on a Zillow map. I don't even know how the heck you could even navigate it, to be quite frank, because there's just so many of them overlapping each other. Next one up speaks to that asshole, Mitch McConnell. Again, Mitch McConnell received money from Dominion. Arrest this piece of shit. I don't know. I don't have anything else to say. This guy's bought and paid for globalist cabal shill, and he's got to go. He's one of the worst politicians in the history of our country, and he's got no right to still be in the Senate. And speaking of which, this next clown to Democratic Senator White House loses it over Kash Patel, warns Republicans. 33 seconds. The indignation, you know, the pearl clutching from these guys just kills me.
So mark my words. This Patel guy will come back to haunt you. Every piece of evidence shows that, and it is not Democrat evidence. It's his own words, it's his own colleagues, and it's judges evaluating his credibility. And Trump Russia is going to come roaring back if it's not.
Oh my God. These low IQ morons cannot let go of the Russia bullshit. They truly think that all of us, the electorate, are retards. Unbelievable that they're still pushing this crap, which, by the way, started with a dossier, the Steele dossier, which was bought and paid for by Hillary Clinton, proven beyond a shadow of a doubt. It was a fabricated document. And here we are, how many years later, 9-10 years later, and these idiots are still Russia. I'm going to back that up just so you can hear him lie one more time.
Colleagues, and it's judges evaluating his credibility. And Trump Russia is going to come roaring back if it's not already back. We should be on our guard about this nominee, and we should be on our guard about Trump Russia. Thank you.
What a tool. No other way to describe, just a complete and utter tool. All right, so something on the better side here. So this is this week's Mega Minutes. She usually keeps it right around the 1 minute mark. Pretty good stuff here from this week.
Things have never been busier here at the White House. President Trump delivered on many more of his promises to you, the American people. Let's roll through this historic week in today's MAGA Minute. This week, President Trump became the first sitting president to ever attend a Super Bowl, declared February 9th Gulf of America Day, signed an executive order rolling back Biden's push to phase out plastic straws, secured the release of Pennsylvania teacher and great American Mark Fogel from Russian captivity, bringing the total number of hostages released to 11 since he took office just 4 weeks ago. He implemented a 25% global tariff on steel and aluminum imports to protect our steel and aluminum industries from unfair foreign competition, He introduced the Fair and Reciprocal Tariff Plan to counter unfair trade practices by our foreign trading partners. He established the Make America Healthy Again Commission to fight chronic disease, ended COVID vaccine mandates in schools, and established the National Energy Dominance Council. We are going to drill, baby, drill. See you for next week's MAGA Minute.
Pretty awesome progress. I think we're going to see the entire second term of Donald Trump's tenure go like this. It's just going to be hammered down the entire time. There's going to be zero breaks for the left or for our enemies or anything like that. So I just want to give a shout out to our friends at flexindustries.com. It's owned by a friend of mine who's been in the trigger game for many, many years, but he started Flex Industries a couple months ago. He makes legal in most jurisdictions, high performance triggers for every platform out there. Could be a Glock pistol, could be an AR platform, could be an AK platform. And number one, it's a lot of fun. So if no other reason, it's good to have because they're a lot of fun. But number two, and there's a very good chance we could see the NFA, National Firearms Act, repealed during Trump's tenure. One can only hope. And if that's the case, then machine guns would become legal again. And why would anybody want to have a machine gun? Well, anybody who's been in a live shooter environment, let's say, especially if it's a CQB operation or anything like that, sometimes in order to get to a safe spot, you have to lay down some covering fire. And that's what they're good for. So these triggers are pretty cool from that perspective. Not in addition to them being fun, by the way, that's one of our rescue pit bulls coming in and out of my door back there. Actually, I got two of them and two of the rescues in here now. Anyway, those triggers are badass. And it's not a bad idea to have at least one gun in your collection that can lay down some suppressing fire. So flexindustries.com, discount code SD17, S as in Sam, D as in David 17. We do not get any affiliate kickback on this. The owner is a good friend of mine. I'm trying to do my best to kickstart it. On this topic, a little bit disappointed last night. We had over 2,000 people at the peak last night. So it's amongst 8 different platforms that we broadcast to, and only one person sent $20 to Cindy Lou Young's Give, Send, Go. It's kind of disappointed in that, to be quite frank. I'm going to start putting that link into our episodes here shortly. And it's just givesendgo.com/ I believe it's protecting freedom. Give me 2 seconds and I'll double check that just in case you didn't have an opportunity to do it last night. And I'm going to keep hammering away on this because she's a great lady who had everything taken from her. Yeah. So givesendgo.com/ protecting freedom. Again, out of over 2,000 people last night, one person sent $20. And I think we can do better than that. Our crowd, our people, which is all y'all watching and stuff like that, we're supposed to be, the ones that are America first and stand up for our fellow Americans. And disappointing to say the least that the entire Survival Dispatch audience only donated $20 to help Cindy. So givesendgo.com/ protecting freedom. And I appreciate anything that y'all can do to help her. All right. That's it for chapter 2. We are now into chapter 3. We're in the home stretch. I got to tell you, if you don't have health insurance to get, therapy, you might not want to watch tonight's third chapter. It's pretty rough. It's like this close to the lady who shoved a real Christmas tree up her wazoo 2 feet and almost bled to death in a Walmart bathroom because she was trying to steal a Christmas tree, and she injured herself quite grievously. I think that was probably the funniest chapter 3 ever. This one's close. Not quite, but it's pretty close. And we don't get into it right away. I'm going to warm you all up first. All right. And again, keep in mind, chapter 3, it's funny stuff. It's zany stuff. It's also interesting stuff. And in this case, it's off the wall stuff. So this is 2 minutes and 19 seconds. I'm probably not going to play the whole thing, but there's an Islamist developer in Texas, just outside of Dallas, creating a Sharia compliant Islamic community. We have one law in the country. It's the Constitution of the United States of America. We cannot have competing stuff like this. This stuff is there's nothing good will come out of this.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Brothers and sisters, I'm sure many of you have heard of the amazing project that we're doing known as Epic Cities. We are, alhamdulillah, constructing an entire city half an hour from downtown Dallas, literally 30 minutes from our own Plano Masjid over here. It's going to be a city of over 1,000 people. Alhamdulillah, we launched this website last year and we sold the entire phase 1 within days.
And that would be because Irving, Texas, so that northwest corner of Dallas proper basically is covered up in Muslims from outside the country. It's almost as bad as going to Dearborn, Michigan.
Because of the demand, we are now opening up Epic Ranches. Epic Ranches is an exclusive opportunity for those who want to be within minutes of Epic City, but also want larger plots. We have 2 Epic Ranches. Epic Ranch.
All right, I'm going to stop there. I don't want to advertise their crap, but suffice it to say, a Sharia compliant city has no place in America at all. All right, next up, here's something else that has no place in our society either. Just busted federal employee Ross Yeager going after a 13-year-old. He is the head of OSHA in 5 states. 1 minute, 14 seconds. The stuff is disgusting. It's a scourge on our society. We've got J.J. Carroll coming on tomorrow night. He's got a book release coming up this week. And, of course, this is one of the big things for J.J. Carroll. Watch the look on this guy's face. The big guy's the good guy, and the bad guy has the gray hair and the glasses.
Okay, so did Sorgen see your penis at all?
No.
Okay, so no, and I understand. Dude, I fully understand, but obviously in this case, whatever happened has already happened, right? It's about.
Oh no, it's the police.
Yeah, did your How's it going, sir? We're just having a conversation here with Ross. He's the head of OSHA over 5 states for the federal government. Basically, you're not going to talk to a 13-year-old again, are you?
No.
Last time doing it?
Yeah, everything's deactivated and done.
Okay. You're not going to send a penis picture to one again, are you?
No.
Okay. And there's going to be no mishaps that happen like
my wife called.
There's going to be. You're not going to send a penis pic to one again, are you? This last time doing something like this? Okay. All right, no more mishaps with your niece, right? With Sorgen? Okay.
No, they don't live here anymore.
Okay,
No.
you're not going to rubber butt again? She's not going to brush your penis again?
No.
Okay, well, yeah, this is kind of what's going on.
So what's interesting there, and this guy got charged, is the way that the big guy asked the questions, knowing that the guy would say, no, I'm not going to do that again, which is an admission of what he's already done. And pretty brilliant to have the cop standing there, body cam going, you're not going to show your dick to another underage kid, right? No, that's the last time, and which means he's done it previously. Great job on asking questions for sure. All right, next one up. This one is not funny either. This is a couple days ago in London, England, and this guy burns a Koran, and this nut bar comes running after him. Then somebody else, and he's got a big ass knife, and then another guy who's on a bicycle starts kicking him while he's down on the ground. I don't know. We'll get through the whole minute and 42, but this is brutal. As far as I'm concerned, Europe for the most part is lost. I know multiple people who've been in Great Britain over the past few years, and they all tell me the same thing. It's lost. There's no recovering it.
God, the man's come out with a knife. The man's come out with a knife there. Oops. Look here, look.
Go for me.
Look. God, he's got a knife. Go.
You idiot. You fucking idiot. You find the Quran.
Go. He's got a knife as well. Oh, you got a knife, man. Come with the fucking idiot. Don't come to me. Come in. Listen, I'm just filming. Yeah. The Quran. No, you shouldn't be. Listen. This is my religion. You don't buy Quran. What are you doing? Come on, man. What are you doing? You're standing out in public road with knife. Exactly. What are you doing?
Stand up, fight, you fucking bully!
So, any Europeans watching this is why we carry guns in America. And don't you dare say it's because we have more violence than you. Your mayor of London has turned that city into an absolute shithole, and bad people will always find a weapon. If it's not a gun, it's a knife. If it's not a knife, it's a truck. It's always something. And, you know, it's funny because John Wheaton and Dave Kemp, his partner, a bunch of us were having dinner. Keith Graves was with us. We got on this whole subject here. And Dave, you know, he said, I would rather be shot 10 times than stabbed once. I don't think people realize that the survival rate for getting stabbed is really, really bad. Get stabbed once, 50% chance of survival. And that's like the top number. Top average, I should say. Get stabbed 2 or more times, it drops down to about 5-10%, and just nothing good comes out of it. But anyways, good job over there in London. Well done. Don't ever ask us or try to chastise us why we have guns. That guy would have got high-speed lead poisoning in the blink of an eye if that had happened here. And here's another great example. Same thing. So this is in France. I'm not familiar with this city, but completely colonized and looking like the nations that the third worlders came from, dragging Western Europe back to the 7th century. They've got to go back. I'm not going to play the whole 59. So you know where else looks like this? Dearborn, Michigan, Minneapolis, just outside of Boise, Idaho, Irving, Texas, amongst other places. Again, if we watch what's going on in other Western countries, it's a great harbinger of things to come here. Stuff's got to end. It's no good. You all may remember there was a video that went viral of some member of parliament in New Zealand that's part of the Maori tribe or whatever. I mean, I don't know. I'm going to play a portion of this. I probably shouldn't express how I feel about it, but I'll play a portion of it. This is a crazy video. Alrighty then. Make of that what you will. I'm going to reserve comment for once. Is that the start of a new zombie movie? Yeah, I reckon it is, Mike. All right. Cat turd with the humorous take on this. Breaking AP has been banned from the Oval Office and Air Force One for refusing to recognize the name change for the Gulf of America. Cat turd says AP ain't participating. Oh, that's fantastic. All right. Zelensky calls for creation of European armed forces at Munich Security Conference. We'll take that deal. And y'all can look after your shit over there. Leave us the hell out of it. All right. Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth is the game changer our military desperately needed. Up with the sun, working out with our troops and setting the standard, truly invigorating. He had 2 hours sleep on the plane to Europe and then got up and did this.
Come with the rotational unit here. Come with the rotational.
I don't imagine anybody saw Lloyd Austin or Mark Milley or any of those clowns doing that. And here's another one. The cat turd, of course, I love this. So there's Pete Hegseth right there doing PT with the boys. That's a leader. But this is not. From Libs of TikTok, what is going on at the Air Force? Reportedly at Holloman Air Force Base in New Mexico. 12 seconds. I don't find that particularly humorous. All right, next up, this is Berlin. Only AFD can save Germany and Europe. 20 seconds.
Dankeschön! Germany! Dankeschön, Germany! Dankeschön, Germany! Germany, Germany! Ja. Alles gut, Germany!
What the heck was that? It sounds like a pig squealing or something. But yes, this is what happens. Import the third world, become the third world. Guy can't even speak. All he can do is squeal. All right. This is great. So Rory Stewart, not sure exactly what his position is. He might be a member of parliament in the UK. I'm not 100% sure. But the VP, J.D. Vance, is talking to European allies in the same patronizing, condescending tone that was used by Americans and their allies for 20 years in Iraq and Afghanistan. It tells us far more about the U.S. than it does about Europe. So this is this Rory Stewart guy, which I'll click through to him in a second. And Kurt, his response is, if you were men, you would not need us to protect you. You chose to be weaklings. Don't further degrade yourselves by crime when you are treated as such. This guy's definitely, he's heavy on the soy. Look at those pipe cleaners he's got. All right, next one up. Okay, so I think that's it for like the crazy, stuff. And now we started to get into, well, this is still crazy, but we get into some funny crazy now instead of just crazy. Do you see it? And that music in that background is going to get an email sent to us, probably a copyright infringement, but that's okay. We don't monetize our stuff. No idea how to pronounce her name. Zana, maybe. Bryant ruined a white girl's life over a non-existent remark. Dove just did a brand partnership with her to support fat liberation. 50 seconds. By the way, the theme for the next, I don't know, half a dozen tabs is obesity.
My belief is that we should be centering the voices and experiences of the most marginalized people and communities at all times. So when I think about what fat liberation looks like to me, it looks like centering the voices and the experiences of those who live in and who maneuver through spaces and institutions in a fat body. It looks like making accessible spaces and having conversations that are aware of the fact that people have different bodies and that they are interacting with space and people and institutions and communities in a different way. Fat liberation looks like fully embracing those differences and having those conversations instead of shying away from them. To learn more about fat liberation and the campaign for size freedom,
Yeah, we're going to stop that there. All right, next one up. This is a fat influencer. Keeping in mind, chapter 3, lots of NSFW stuff and language. So this is a fat influencer who goes by Pretty Fat Girl Gang. She often encourages her overweight followers to not lose weight and instead embrace their fat. Here's a video of her promoting buying fat towels to cover big backs rather than lose weight. And Joey Manarino says, how is this a real thing?
Now, you know damn well you ain't got no business trying to wrap that small towel around that big ass back. This is how y'all look drying off getting out the shower. You play too damn much. Stop telling people that that towel shrunk when you threw it in the dryer. The level of delusion is at an all-time high. And now I'm concerned. Fatty, do me a favor. Stop believing that just because you have difficulty with finding something in your size.
So I hate to do this, but I got to draw attention to it. Y'all know what this is called right here, don't you? That is a front bum.
That means it's time to slim down. That's what they want you to be. They want to make you feel like you're the problem. But baby, I come with solutions.
That is not just a front bum. That is a big ass front bum.
Boom! Stop playing with me. I told you I got y'all. My people over at Pixie Home heard that my big backs needed some accommodation, and they sent this to help relieve some of your frustration. Look at this shit. This damn towel is 90 by 40 inches. That's 90 inches of wide waist wraparound. I don't
It's called a beach towel.
think y'all understand me. Check me out. Oh, you don't like this color? That won't be a problem. They got a variety of different flavors. Now, before y'all start with your shit, because I know it's coming, I don't want to hear y'all saying, oh, you can get those in Walmart. Because no, you can't. What Walmart you know carry towels this big? Wally World not giving it up like this, baby.
All right, that's enough of that. We're all gonna need therapy. Oh, we're right. Next one up, fat girl gets folded. It's only 4 seconds. I'll probably play it twice. Yeah, like usual, when I say I gotta play it twice, it's usually at least 3 times. All right. Next one, fat girls are out of control. Am I right? 49 seconds.
The hotter you are, the crazier you can be. Men will put up with it. But the opposite is also true. This is why fat girls used to be so nice. But then the internet and a bunch of black dudes convinced them that they were hot too. Now you can't even talk to one. Relax, bitch. You can't have an attitude and type 2 diabetes. If you're over 300 pounds, you need to be as sweet as your blood sugar. These fat white girls who get with a black dude and then they're like, see, I'm not racist. And I'm like, come on, Cheryl. It's not like you had a choice. It's like when black dudes are like, I don't even like them skinny white girls. I'm like, come on, Daryl. It's not like you had a choice either.
Oh, she's good. That was funny. All right, next. Oh my God. They're trying to bring back fat phobic. Here's an idea that could solve your problem. Don't be fat and lazy. 31 seconds.
Using the word skinny to market products that have fewer calories or are healthier is fat phobic. Skinny pop, skinny cow with the tape measure tied around the waist. And you can try to change the logo, but it's still fat phobic. Skinny girl. Egregious. Just egregious. To make something have fewer calories, less sugar, you say make it skinny? Smoothie King? I hope you can now see how people use fat phobia as a marketing tool. It's not about those options having less calories and less sugar. It's the way they're marketed.
Yeah, God forbid. All right. Oh my God. So I think this is the rapper where the Lyft driver said, my car can't handle it, you can't get in. Pretty sure this is her. Not going to play the whole video because it's not relevant, but I'll play the beginning of it.
Nice to meet you.
Hi.
How are you? Hey, King. How you, brother? You good? Nice to meet you, King.
Yep. It's the only seat y'all got?
What you want? What you need?
There's one more. A bigger chair or something.
Is she already little?
We had
That's what I'm talking about. Good. This is the accommodation.
There you go. You know,
So the entire video, this is like a less than 3-minute clip. It's longer than that. The entire topic that's up for discussion is how every business needs to be accommodating to people like her. So, all right, next one up. Wow. Not going to lie, fat cops may actually be more of a risk to safety than inexperienced female cops. This is pretty bad. 38 seconds. No sound in this, by the way. Wow. Not good. Not good at all. All right. Next one up. I got a bit of a backlash the other day ago for my comment about the woman on a hunger strike. To show I am not fat phobic, I wanted to treat you to a video celebrating larger female excellence in sport. 9 seconds. All right, that's enough of that. And next one up, billionaire Elon Musk is sleeping on the floor in the office to save the American taxpayer from being ripped off. Millionaire elected officials are sleeping in their mansions while trying to stop him. If you think Elon is the bad guy in this, you need your head examined. And I don't agree with everything Elon does, but he's on the right side of this one by a long shot. All right, so there's the same picture I showed you earlier of Pete Hegseth doing push-ups after 2 hours sleep, flying to Europe, but somebody tagged him the greatest of all time. I don't disagree. President Trump signs new executive order, changes the name of San Andreas Fault to Newsom's Fault. We got some stuff considering it was, Valentine's Day yesterday. Roses are red, violets are blue. Come here illegally and we'll deport you. Has a nice ring to it. I love you like a brother. There she is, the brother fucker that's been proven by DNA now that she married her brother to get him into the country illegally. She needs to go straight back to Somalia. My heart goes out to all of you. Elon doing the Nazi salute, all right? Only hoe I need is a whole lot of guns and ammo. All right. And people say love is the best feeling, but I think finding a toilet when you have diarrhea is better. Oh. Harsh. I believe DOGE is a tiptoe through the fraud incrementally. They are starting with the ridiculous stuff so Americans can become aware of the situation and digest it piece by piece. But what lies at the end stages of the discovery will probably rattle all of us to the core. John Rich, good dude. Illegal aliens sent $56 billion in cash to their home countries last year alone. That's after their kids enjoyed free education, free lunches, and free medical care paid for by you. Ain't that the truth? All right. Nobody cares. Truth. You can't get rich in politics unless you're a crook. True story. Good quote on the part of Harry Truman. Walking around the grocery store upset, realizing that 90% of what's sold isn't even food. It's toxins and chemicals masquerading as food. Sure is. I don't want to get into that one. We're going to skip past it. Roses are red. Violets are thick. I'm pretty sure that this chick's got a dick. Now he cheated on Michael. Now he's with Jennifer Aniston. Dear IRS, you're fucked. Good call. Net worth of the 50 richest members of Congress, $4.8 billion. And now these guys, it's not fair to say 174K, not that it makes a difference in the big grand scheme of things, but both of these two clowns are over 200,000 a year. And this is on a bridge somewhere here in America. Who will kill Elon? These people that are anti-MAGA, anti-American, are twisted, man. Absolutely twisted. You make my heart stop, from Dr. Anthony Fauci. All right. If I'm murdered, just know I talk shit till the end, the bitter end. I can't remember who sent me that one. And Pepe the Frog here. Free swing ride for traders. Amen to that. U.S. Army. The U.S. Army will no longer allow transgender individuals to join the military and will stop performing or facilitating procedures associated with gender transition for service members. Stay tuned for more details. That's how our government functions right there. That's how it works. The eggshell goes in the frying pan and the egg goes out here on the top of the stove. Roses are red, violets are blue. Come here illegally and we'll deport you. That's a repeat the second time. Chocolate doesn't say I love you like giving her the gift of self-defense. Cool. I like it. Roses are red. Shooting is fun. Forget the roses. Just buy me a gun. Mock-up of Tulsi Gabbard. About now, I'm guessing you wished you hadn't have fucked with me. Yeah, I'd say that's a safe bet. Look, son, those people who cut off their son's dick think Elon Musk is going too far. That's a repeat. I had imported a bunch of pictures. Somehow it screwed up the sit rep for tonight, and I had to rebuild it manually, so I missed a couple of these. I just got a violation for calling someone a retard. This is on X. Your post was deleted by our systems and has had its visibility limited for violating the X rules. We have determined, your post violated our rules against hateful conduct. Blah, 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 and that'll be a 1-week suspension. I've got the same thing several times over the past 12 months. Anybody who thinks that X is 100% freedom of speech is completely just not. They're either don't know what they don't know or they're flat out lying. I can tell you that the platform that my team's currently building for Todd Calendar, ignore the admin bar up here, but this is what it looks like. We have a white theme that goes with it as well, but it's under development right now. You just got to click this button. But this is what we've built is essentially the best of X, the best of Facebook, and the best of Rumble, and all put together super clean. This is a development server that we're running on it. I think we've got just under 100 beta testers right now, but this is going live on February the 26th. This is Todd Calendar's second generation social media platform. There is no censorship. So other than pornography and illegal content, everything goes here. There's a few little things we have to tune up, like some of the link previews. We've got lots of work to do actually between now and the 26th and other stuff to light up. We've got a marketplace though, much like Facebook Marketplace. All kinds of cool stuff, all kinds of ways to monetize for creators. We've got affiliate programs for people who help us drive signups. And if you have an active account on Cloud Hub, it'll be ported over to Liberty Club just before we go live. And you'll get a link. You'll get an email with a link that says, click here to reset your password. There's different types of encryption used on the passwords on the two different platforms. Not to mention the fact that some people just save their password. They don't remember what it is. So you'll get an invite if you're a member of Cloud Hub already. And we're bringing over many hundreds of thousands of people that way, by the way. So somebody's finally doing something that's true freedom of speech, because it ain't X. It's definitely not Facebook. They took one of our videos down and kicked us off last week. Said we were glorifying violence. There was zero violence in the entire episode, like zero. Anyway, founder of Surrey Pride, so this is in England, of course, 40, had sex and smoked a bong with a 12-year-old boy he met on a gay dating app, Grindr. Trial hears. Why do they always look like this? Unbelievable. But they don't want our children, right? We've been told that how many times? Make hanging traitors great again. That's an awesome hat. They changed the name and logos. Why did they change the name? Gulf of America, Gulf of Mexico. Yeah, but this is all okay, but this is outrageous. All right. CNN, Trump's first 100 days. Trump, oh my God. You want to talk about full of themselves idiots. So Trump officials fired nuclear staff, not realizing they oversee the country's weapons stockpile, sources say. Yes. So Donald Trump's team laid off some people who are in charge of nuclear weapons, but didn't know that they oversaw our nuclear weapons stockpile. Okay. That's entirely believable. So, all right. That is the end of chapter 3. We're in the home stretch here. Let me just get my notes back up again. Bear with me being by myself tonight, plus producing. Somebody wants to volunteer to be a producer. Send an email to support@survivaldispatch.com. I may even start entertaining applications potentially for a host. You know, I do this 7 nights a week, and I love my wife and I don't want to get divorced. So I need to find a way to dial it back. I need at least 1 night a week where I'm not working from 7 p.m. to 10 p.m. 7 days a week. Anyway, keep that in mind, that if you are interested in becoming a producer for us so that you can pull all these assets up for us, that would be fantastic. And if anybody would like to host and you have experience hosting, support@survivaldispatch.com. I would love to speak with you. All right, so homework. So 3rd chapter, we always have homework related to the main topic of the night, the first topic. How can you be involved? How can you contribute to whatever the thing is? How can you have a positive influence? And of course, tonight was with regards to these activist judges trying to screw up Trump's agenda. So I've got 3 things, pretty simple. Some of this, obviously, we've mentioned before, but it's worth repeating. Number 1, continue speaking out against lower court activist judges. They have no authority over the executives unless somebody in the executive broke the law, a specific law. And they haven't quoted anything specific on the stuff they've done to Trump. So it's just a dirty stalling tactic, right? Number 2, demand that all courts specify what law has been broken and giving them jurisdiction to block the president's agenda. If no law is broken and you can't tell me how it went against the Constitution, you can't just say, I don't like this and I'm blocking it. And I'm going to predict that there's going to be some sort of process fleshed out, probably sooner rather than later, that's going to proactively deal with these activist judges instead of reacting to everything that they do, these outrageous things they do. Number 3, and as you heard people, I think it was S2 mentioned this week, but it's true. Write to your congressional reps and remind them that we gave Trump an overwhelming mandate. And if they don't get on board with it and they don't support Trump's agenda, and they're on the Republican side, which again, we're not Republican. Republicans, Democrats, 2 different sides of the same coin, but we will primary them. We've got some awesome people on our team now, like Scott Pressler, amongst others, that will absolutely primary you. So writing letters to your Congress critters, writing emails to your Congress critters, filling in contact forms on their websites, leaving them voicemails, that stuff works. We overwhelmed a bunch of voicemail boxes not too long ago. And one of the things, with the feds, and they actually pivoted on it, was with regards to one of Trump's nominees. And if you're a paying member of Survival Dispatch Insider, go to Patreon. Download tonight's brief if you don't have it already. And under the homework section, there's a link to govtrack.us where you can get your Congress critter contact details for everybody on the Hill. Speaking of Patreon, patreon.com/survival dispatch, $9.99 a month. You get all of our sit reps, so highly curated daily newspaper. You get some exclusive behind the scenes content. You get an invite to our private Signal chat. So the process is make sure you have it installed on your phone, send an email to support@survivaldispatch.com with your cell phone number, and you will get an invite to join that group. You get our 228-page Essentials Guide for free. You get 50% off of all of our Survival Dispatch Insider magazines, which there they are up there. We've got 36 of them, some behind my head as well. Let me see, what else do you get? Early access to content. It's a good deal. There's a ton of information there. If you don't want to sign up, you can buy a daily sit rep for $3.99. I don't like the price. It's the lowest that Patreon let us go. I will have a solution in place very quickly for 99 cents. And probably once we launch Liberty Club, which is going to be February 26th, that's probably where I'm going to put all the sit reps over there. And people who want to buy them will be able to pay 99 cents at that point in time. Other than that, I guess we're just down to the conflicted question. So what's one piece of advice you'd give to someone starting their prepping journey for the first time? Well, I mean, myself, the advice that I would give would be to gather as much information as you can based on time that's at your disposal. And you're going to gravitate to some people, but I would suggest that you research multiple people, not just Survival Dispatch, like research a bunch of people, because everybody's got their own different way of doing things. And it's not that one way may be right and one way may be wrong, although that is sometimes the case, but a different perspective is good. You might find something works better for you than it does for somebody else. For example, there's that 2 + 2 = 4. So that's an absolute. Most things in life are various shades of gray. The other thing I would suggest is prepping is like eating an elephant. You do it one bite at a time. You don't have to go out and spend money, like every bit of your disposable income or money that you don't have on credit cards. Just get started. And so you go to the grocery and maybe you don't have a whole lot of extra money to spend. Grab an extra case of bottled spring water. Not that crap that's from Coca-Cola and other places, friggin' tap water, for crying out loud, from places like Atlanta's Municipal Supply, and it's garbage. But buy, like, if you're here in Florida, Zephyr Hills, and if you're in Texas, my other home state, Ozarka. Those are the two best, safest spring waters in Texas and Florida. But just do it one step at a time. I would suggest that you get some stuff in dead tree format, so paper format. I've got all kinds of stuff like that myself, books and guides, you name it. So God forbid, if we lose the network, we lose power. I mean, we will continue to have power because we're prepped for that. But that way you still have stuff at your disposal, but don't worry about doing it all at once. So in order of priority, water is always the first priority. And if you look at our sit rep, there's discount links and whatnot, and there's links to water bobs in there. So it's like 100-gallon, plastic bag essentially that goes in your tub with a hand pump on it. And if you got a, storm coming, you can fill it up, and it's 100 gallons. It'll last you for some good amount of time. Having no electricity sucks bad. Having no electricity plus no water is even worse. I mean, the simple things like flushing the toilet becomes a problem. So anyway, bite-sized chunks. Just do it a little bit at a time. Focus on water first. Focus on food second. Highly recommend freeze-dried food over dehydrated stuff. Dehydrated is better than not as far as shelf life is concerned. But freeze-dried food, it'll last 25 plus years. And if you can afford it, buy your own freeze dryer, and then you can do your own stuff. We have a couple freeze dryers. It's pretty awesome. When my wife makes stuff in there, sometimes it doesn't even make it into our pantry because I eat it when it comes out, especially the freeze-dried bananas and stuff like that. Golly, they're awesome. But anyway, that's it. We'll be back tomorrow night at the usual time, 7 p.m. Eastern. Got JJ Carroll coming on for his book launch. We'll be discussing that. I got a text while we were on air here from Lieutenant Colonel Doc Pete Chambers, close personal friend. He's going to come on and give us an update on the border. He's going to give us an update on the Hurricane Helene relief efforts that his team is working on in West North Carolina, Avery, North Carolina. Holy cow. Let me see. We've got, we're working on Ivan Rake, and hopefully sometime in the next couple weeks, Minister of Retribution. We'll have Jake Lang on, very notorious J6er, sometime in the next couple weeks. Patrick Byrne will be coming back sometime in the next couple weeks. And I know I'm forgetting somebody, but we've got a pretty good lineup over the next couple weeks of some just outstanding people. So tonight's video, the ending video, is 3 minutes and 53 seconds, and it is called Trump and Son. Hope you enjoy it. And between now and tomorrow night, please like, share, comment, subscribe. God bless America.
Bing, bong, bong, bing, bing, bing.
Just what I needed now. A wino and a rhino.
Well, Papa, you gonna help me with this garden now?
Son, I did my part. I got us a scarecrow. This is guaranteed to scare away slugs and snails and birds.
Just remember that the Lord giveth and the Lord taketh away. Hallelujah!
And you remember when you looked in the mirror tonight, the Lord gave you that face and you stuck with it. Let me tell you something. Every time I see you, it makes me wish that birth control was retroactive. Why don't you start helping us out in the kitchen?
All right.
You can start by sticking your face in the freezer and making us some ugly sickles.
I don't like being alone in the house with a married man.
Listen, if we were alone on a raft in the middle of the ocean, I'd rather kiss an octopus in the mouth.
Today is my lucky day.
Why? Because you looked in the mirror and it didn't break? What do you want?
I'm the winner of your lucky number contest, and I want my money.
What are you talking about?
I'm talking about the money I got coming on this ticket, turkey.
You call me a turkey again, I'll base you with a couple of these. Why'd you go someplace else? Why'd you go ugly up somebody else's house?
Who you calling ugly, sucker?
You. I could throw some tracing paper over your head and draw me a moose face.
Who you calling a criminal? I'm no criminal.
Not now. But if you're gonna take a physical, you're gonna have to take your clothes off. And if you take your clothes off, that's criminal. Wait a minute. See, you take your clothes off, that would be first-degree ugliness with malice aforethought and attempt to cause blindness. Hey, what are you doing here?
What do you mean, what am I doing here?
Well, wolf woman don't usually come out until it's a full moon. Goodbye, dear.
Oh, you call me dear?
Why should I call you dear? You look like Bambi's father.